This is an amazing concept. She actually thinks this is an enjoyable experience. I think the key thing is it was low expectations, which meant that they were just free to enjoy the football. And I think crucially, as you said, they look like they want to be.
But we can no longer shape them. However, I think their problem is that the average Leave voter, as with the average Remain voter, has accepted the result and wants people to get on with it.
Referred there to some legal advice to the ERG, which has been floating around. Let's give it to James Cleverly about that in a moment. But Dawn, first, let me just ask you, what can the ERG or any backbenchers who are angry about this actually do? Do they have the numbers or the clout to try and stop this deal?
Leave voters, we are going to see the end of trust in our democracy, and that is a much bigger thing to worry about.
OK, well, you guys stay with me. Barry Garner, thank you very much for coming in to talk to us. It's coming up to 11:40 and you're watching the Sunday Politics. Well, my panel of political experts are still here with me to unpick what we might be able to expect from the Trump visit next week. Let's start with you, Don. We were talking about the potential protests there. How do you feel about the fact that there will be a lot of protests and that Trump probably won't see any of them? Film there saying, you know, respect the office even if you don't respect the man, and that it's not appropriate to behave like this when the President of the United States
Well,
is visiting.
it would be appropriate if these people were also protesting with journalists, but he doesn't actually lock them up and have them murdered, for goodness sake. Not yet, anyway. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I wouldn't have voted for him, but he was voted for by the majority in the United States, and I think we should respect that democratic decision, whether we agree with it or not. And people holding up a placard saying, "Stop Trump." What do you mean, stop Trump? He has a mandate to do a lot of the horrible things. He's a horrible man who said he'd do horrible things.
Well, I think it's true that a protest in the United Kingdom is not going to dislodge Trump. However, I think they're worried about Trump. You should be worried about Erdogan, and you should also be worried about...
It shows it's virtual signalling.
No, it shows that most people are not politically informed, and that they should be more angry and more worried about a variety of things. They should be worried about Erdogan. Frankly, they should be worried about the fact Esther McVey is still in post.
Substance of what's going to happen when he's in Europe, and as we heard in the film, he'll be going to the NATO summit first. We know a lot of European members of NATO do not meet the commitment of spending 2% of their GDP on defence. We do, although, of course, the MOD is pressing very hard for more money at the moment. Will Trump be pressuring the UK for more defence spending, Julia, as well as others?
I would have thought so. I mean, we meet the 2% target, but only by a whisker and by including pensions. Is Estonia, Poland and the UK are the only ones who meet these targets, should actually be fulfilling their duties. I don't see why we should rely on...
Minister, what can the UK possibly expect out of this? I mean, there's talk of, obviously, a free trade deal once we've left the European Union. They're not going to sign that off right now, but what could be a win for Theresa May out of this?
Bombardier factory in Belfast has almost closed down because of US trade tariffs. That's happened even before we're going into Brexit. So Theresa May really does need to look at a lot of the tariffs on aerospace and other parts of British industry and manufacturing.
Of course, and advertising that than he necessarily is about the visits to Chequers or to meet the Queen.
No, meeting the Queen. That's the number one thing. It's Donald Trump getting something out of this. This is what he wants, is meeting the Queen.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, I think no matter what happens, Trump will try and be impervious. Macron went all in and got nothing out of it. Theresa May needs to accept she's weak.
All right. Well, thank you all. Julia, Stephen, Don, thanks for coming in.